Thank you, Chairman. I would just like to correct the record. It was Obama Biden who built the CAGES, aka chain link partitions used by Border Patrol stations as a safety measure to guard against things like sexual assault. I know that we had heard earlier that Trump built CAGES. That is simply not true. And it is also, as seen behind me, Biden who put kids in shipping containers, something that the media wanted to fact check. But as you can see, these are shipping containers. Now, it is no secret that there is a crisis at our southern border. Obviously, Mayorkas was actually caught on a hot mic a couple of years ago saying that these numbers were unsustainable. We have approximately 325,000 children enter the U.S. under Biden administration, and these are unaccompanied minors a majority of the time, and it's vastly between these ports of entries. Now, Mr. Chairman, I would ask for unanimous consent to enter these two graphics into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
The Biden administration does not want to acknowledge these facts, and they certainly don't want to know who's coming into our country. It has been estimated that a shocking 60% of Latin American children who cross the border are caught by cartels and exploited for child pornography and drug trafficking, which would be roughly about 200,000 kids under this administration. As Representative Andy Biggs had stated, because of a letter that he received, 42,577 children have been lost. Just before I go into my next point, Chief Chavez, can you tell me the youngest age of a known rape victim that you've come across or that you've heard of?
I don't have the age, ma'am. I know that when we go to the Central Processing Center, and this was in El Paso, my intelligence agents as well as Homeland Security investigations agents, they do the debriefs at the center.
Do you have minors that are raped when crossing the border? Has it been an occurrence that has happened to either Chief Chavez or Chief Modlin? Yes or no, please. Sorry, we're limited on time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, on my end.
Thank you. President Trump has expanded President Trump did expand biometrics collection to include DNA testing pilot program and fingerprinted children under the age of 14 to crack down on child smuggling and migrants posing as fake families. Now, I hear a lot of rhetoric saying that it was wrong for people to separate children, but I, as a Hispanic woman and a veteran, think that it is the right thing to do to separate children until you can biologically confirm that they are not being handed over into the hands of traffickers, and it is grossly irresponsible to hand those children that we might not have any idea if they're actually biologically related. Chief Modlin, would you agree that you would rather have a child to be confirmed to be a known family member than release them into the hands of a trafficker?
Thanks, ma'am. So I would agree. Anything that helps us determine the actual familial bond is positive.
Okay, so with my follow-up question on this one, are children currently having their biometric data being collected under this administration?
It depends on the age of the children, but 14 and above, they are, as I testified to earlier in Tucson sector, the vast majority are 17-year-old Guatemalan males. It's fairly rare to see young unaccompanied females in Tucson.
Are you able to collect at every sector in every section of the border?
I can't speak for the other sectors, ma'am, but
We do the same in RGV.
Okay. I would just like to also ask one more thing. A large part of your job is engaging in catching those that are engaging in human smuggling and trafficking. Do you believe that with more funding that you could do your job better?
ma'am, I absolutely believe more funding, we can do our own job, we can do our job better, absolutely.
Ma'am?
I agree the same, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to close out with this because I know that we're limited on time here. For any member of this House of Representatives advocating to defund Border Patrol and ICE, not only are you complicit in engaging in aiding and abetting traffickers, but you are hurting minority children at that. And with my final question, can you please tell me, are a majority of Border Patrol agents white or Hispanic?
Ma'am, my understanding is the majority of Border Patrol agents are Hispanic. And as I've stated earlier, most of them are either first-generation migrants or migrants themselves.
I will close with this. Clearly, we don't have a white supremacy history in this country. Clearly, it's an illegal immigration one. I thank you guys for your service, and please tell your counterparts, God bless them. Thank you. Chairman, I yield my time.
Lady yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Edwards for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To each of our fine officers here, I thank you for your service at our border and all of those that are supporting you. I've heard from at least one member here this afternoon that they felt that they were the only person that represented a border district. I just completed a tour of the westernmost counties in North Carolina. Counties nestled down in the mountains, 1,000 miles away from the border. And every sheriff that I visited said that they felt that they were protecting their county from the border. They were a border county because they're seeing the influence into what was once mountains that seemed impenetrable to these types of behaviors, particularly the drugs. Mr. Modlin, I know that we have heard reports of how many pounds of fentanyl, gallons of fentanyl have been captured. Do we have any method to estimate how much fentanyl has actually made it through into the United States?
Thanks for the question, sir. To my knowledge, there is no way to estimate the amount that made it into the United States. It certainly, that estimation certainly wouldn't come from me.
I'd like to follow up. When you discover fentanyl coming in, can you tell us what that looks like? Is it in the back of a truck, a backpack? Did somebody swallow it in some container? What are the mechanisms that people are using to get the Chinese fentanyl into the U.S.?
Thanks again for the question, sir. So when we uncover fentanyl, usually it's in pill form. You've probably seen, because it's been widely discussed, some of the multicolored pills recently. I think my sector had one of the largest seizures of the multicolored fentanyl. It sort of looks a lot like candy would look like. We see that sometimes at our immigration checkpoints and then often between the ports of entry as well, or just on a traffic stop that Border Patrol agents make.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd just like to comment to the committee that we heard an argument from the other side earlier this afternoon that this was an issue of humanity, and I couldn't agree more. When I listen to the folks in western North Carolina, I think that we have to consider the humanity, first of all, of those fine officers that are putting their lives at risk to deal with drug dealers, to deal with the increase in crime. We need to consider the humanity for the children that are losing their parents to overdoses, or the children that are seeing their brothers and sisters incarcerated for dealing with drugs. The humanity for young folks that are getting hooked on drugs and overdosing and living their lives. The humanity for parents that are losing their children to the fentanyl influx that we see in this country. Mr. Chair, I know we're running out of time. We've got some other deadlines, so I yield back. Thank you.